Welcome to SeriesTalk from NIRSA and the NIRSA Championship Series. I'm David Peters from Florida State University.
I'm Marty Dempsey from the University of Florida.
This is our very first podcast where we'll bring you news, information, and explanations all about the NIRSA Championship Series.
So why are we doing a podcast, Dave? It came down to, it's a fun, new, engaging way to communicate with our members, to have different initiatives that are thrown out there, to answer questions, and just to be very transparent with a lot of the things that the NIRSA Championship Series is doing.
And it might feel like one way right now because you might be watching this or listening to it, but we're looking forward to, after this podcast, hearing from you, taking in your questions, and then bringing out the answers to you so that everyone hears that answer at the same time instead of just maybe a one-off call or an email that you might get from a series member. So really hope this will help to inform our entire membership about what the series has in store. Of course, we've done a lot of things over the past year as well in this series, so let's talk about some recent things that are happening, some championships back in the month of April.
Yes, absolutely. So we had the National Basketball Championships for the third year in a row hosted at The Ohio State University up in Columbus, Ohio, and it was just a fantastic event up there from everything that people have mentioned to me. I know we had several staff members that were here that were up at the event. So kudos to Ohio State, Gerard Davis, Deck Shorter, and that entire staff that has really worked hard throughout the years to put on a great national championship. So we had some results and we crowned some champions as well.
Yeah.
So in our men's club division, huge congratulations goes out to Texas A&M University for defeating the University of Wisconsin-Madison and knocking them off as UW-Madison was trying to repeat as champions, but Texas A&M would have none of it. In our women's club division, it was a battle of North Carolina as UNC Chapel Hill defeated North Carolina State University. On the intramural side, in the women's intramural division, the Grand Canyon State University took home the national championship by beating Georgia Southern. On the men's intramural side, it was North Carolina A&T over Eastern Washington. And this year we had our unified division where the University of Toronto took home the title by beating the University of Louisville. Now, it's really not just all about competition within the series. They hand out a lot of other great awards, including to officials, but also to teams that demonstrate really great sportsmanship throughout the weekend. So in our men's division, Northern Colorado was granted with that sportsmanship award. In our women's division, it was the University of Wisconsin lacrosse, and in the unified division, it was the University of Alabama. So huge congratulations to all the teams that participated, either advanced to the finals or just worked hard to make sure that they uphold the NIRSA values from that. Overall, 98 total teams, 57 officials, 59 volunteer staff, and a whole slew of others involved with Ohio State University. So they've done a tremendous job. I know I talked to Gerard Davis yesterday about his experience with that, and he wanted to give a special shout out to Megan Morris, basketball work team chair, that was just kind of a jack of all trades. So thank you, Megan, for your leadership throughout the series and all that you brought to that series as well. Gerard mentioned that it was quite an opportunity for Ohio State to be able to host that. It was such an outstanding opportunity, and they would say to any school out there that if you have the ability and the support from your leadership to go ahead and submit a bid for the national championship. And speaking of that, we are welcoming a new site next year, David.
Absolutely.
Wichita State University as we move over into that area of the country for the first time for our national basketball championships next April. Yeah,
I know the entire city of Wichita feels like they're excited about this event, and they've been on board for the last year or so, learning everything they can from Ohio State. So Ohio State will put their feet up next year. I think they're ready for a little break because it is quite the undertaking, but they've done an excellent job in their time there in Columbus. So we'll see our basketball teams next year in Wichita. We also had tennis teams on the road in April at the USTA Tennis on Campus National Championships, a partnership that the NIRSA Championship Series has with tennis, and 64 teams made their way down to Lake Nona, Florida. So right here in the Sunshine State, that's right outside of Orlando, to the USTA National Campus, where they're training the next professionals for the United States right there on that campus. So it's a great place for our club athletes to go and really participate in an excellent tournament. Over 200 matches over 3 days in mid-April. Just a fantastic venue. It really is truly a great opportunity for our tennis club members. And from what we hear from them, they enjoy going down to Lake Nona, and they had a great time this year. But people who had a really good time were those who made the Final Four in that gold division. That includes Ohio State University, so they were hosting basketball, and their tennis team was doing well too at our championships. Also, North Carolina, UC San Diego, and Stanford were our Final Four teams, but it was Ohio State and Carolina that made the final, and the Buckeyes walked away with the national championship in this year's championship for tennis. So congratulations to the Buckeyes there. It will not be in Orlando next year, but a sunny state nonetheless. It's going back to the West Coast, or at least to the Southwest. Surprise, Arizona will be the host for the 2019 USTA Tennis on Campus National Championship. So we hope to see our tennis teams there, but a great time by over 600 or so tennis players. A handful of NIRSA staff support the USTA at this event, but it's a great partnership that we have there to take our club athletes and have them enjoy a great tennis experience throughout the year. So you can learn more about what happened to tennis at tennisoncampus.com, and of course what happened all year with basketball and flag football and soccer from back in the fall as well at NIRSAplay.com. So catch up on all of our champions from out the year. It's been another good year for the series.
Thanks, Dave. It really has been an outstanding, a very successful spring season for both basketball and tennis. So now as we turn our page to the summer session, which is really our planning time throughout the year, let's take a look back at just some of the humble beginnings of this NIRSA Championship Series. Way back in 2006, where a group of professionals gathered very informally. I believe it was in a hotel room, right, at Georgia Tech, and they spent some very late hours talking about some new ideas for this new initiative and about what the future of extramural sports was going to look like. And throughout many different changes, and we've gotten to this point now where it has become the NIRSA Championship Series. From that particular meeting in 2006, it was decided that 13 NIRSA members would meet at NIRSA headquarters later that summer to lay out the foundation, to establish procedures and goals and some guidelines for what this was going to look like. And over the years since then, thousands of participants, thousands of volunteers and other staff members have engaged in the series in one way, shape, or form. We have had many great moments. We've celebrated in each other's successes, and let's face it, there's been some tough challenges along the way as well. But through all of that, one thing has really remained consistent, is that this series has been about a lot more than just competition.
And it's been over a decade since that meeting was held, and so NIRSA came together this year with other leaders and said, it's time to make the roadmap for the next 10 years. What does the next iteration of this series look like? How do we build upon our successes, build upon the sports that we have, and look towards the future? And for that project, a task force was named earlier this year that includes about a dozen members and a variety of different perspectives. And as you see, as we take a look at the list of members that are on that particular group that will be meeting here this summer and taking in feedback from all across the country and all of our different members and stakeholders that care so much about this series, we have a number of different perspectives. We have some seasoned veterans, if you will. We have some lightly seasoned veterans, and then some new professionals, some new members who have been part of the series in different ways, whether they were a series leader or perhaps just a regular tournament volunteer. So we're excited about the different perspectives that are coming to the table to talk about what's next for the NIRSA Championship Series.
Sure.
Some of those members include...
So aside from Dave and I, we'll have Amanda Demmel from the University of Oregon.
Of course, there's Marty on the list, Scott Flickinger from Cornell.
Randall Ford, who is the current NIRSA Championship Series Committee Chair, will be taking over in June 1st at the end of OC's term. He's from the University of Texas at Austin.
Dan Hazlitt from Georgia Tech.
Nicole Jackson from NIRSA headquarters.
Ashley Lax from Wisconsin-Madison.
Stephanie McAlpine from the University of Texas at Arlington.
There's Valerie McCutcheon from the headquarters, and myself, of course.
Yep, and then Dave Peters, obviously you are
you.
here.
Yep.
And then Gene Sherry from Georgia Southern University.
There's Ben Strunk from NC State.
Jacob Tingle from Trinity University.
Brooke Turner from the University of Alabama.
And then you mentioned those seasoned veterans, so it doesn't get much more seasoned, right, than Mark the Shark Williams from the University of Notre Dame. Love you, Shark.
Hey, but a great group there that will be getting together in the month of June in Atlanta to talk more about what the next iteration of this series is. We're calling it Series 2.0 because we know that there's growth and some opportunities there that we don't want NIRSA to miss, as we continue to make growth opportunities, not just for our members, but also our club athletes and our participants, and really just our field in general. So we're excited to be getting together there for NIRSA 2.0 coming up in Atlanta next month.
Yeah, so work has already been done for this, as you can imagine. The idea came from this several months ago. We met for the first time at the NIRSA annual conference over in Denver just about 8 weeks ago at this point. We had some homework that we were given throughout that. And there's been weekly planning calls that have been going on to discuss, what are the main topics of focus. Each one of us have completed our own SWOT analysis and have engaged other members throughout NIRSA as well in helping out with that. And we'll discuss in a few minutes about how you also, if you're listening here, can provide some feedback as well.
So some of the work that's already been done, take a look at some of the committees that we have among that dozen or so, everyone divided up with some homework assignments, looking at the current structure of this series, kind of gauging a current pulse, which is we'll be asking for you as well if you haven't contributed yet to have an opportunity to give us your feedback. But we have a certain group there that's looking at what the series is right now, maybe how the different sports interact, what the different formats that we have are, and really getting all of those facts and figures in line for a good discussion coming up in June.
Then the assessment piece of this, we know that is a key component of what the NIRSA future is going to look like. So, what successes have we had in regards to assessment, and what opportunities are still available for us to continue our research, to be able to better tell our story about how we impact the success of our students, we impact their participation, and what is that real value that the Championship Series brings.
We've got a group that's looking outside of the series and benchmarking others, seeing what maybe our other club athletes in different sports and what those events and experiences look like for them, and other opportunities that perhaps the series will have going forward. So looking externally has been very important, and we're bringing that data to the table as well.
Last but not least is really what's in the future, and how can we connect with the new NIRSA strategic plan that was released this year at the annual conference. What does the future hold? What do our students look like here on college campuses within the next 5 to 10 years? And how does that change the type of programming that we offer through the Championship Series?
So a lot of work being done now, a lot of conversations to be had in June, but we're just not going to make a couple decisions and be done. I really feel this is going to be a several months process. We really hope to have a nice reveal by annual conference next year, to make sure that everyone knows what we think the series should be doing going forward. But your input is very important. We talked about the interactiveness of what this work is, and so here's some ways to interact with us. First, drop an email. We have a general email that will go to our series task force, and it simply is seriestaskforce@nirsaleaders.org. You can see it on the screen there. Again, seriestaskforce@nirsaleaders.org, and that will take any comment, any question, any suggestion. You can drop it there. Or you can go to our website at nirsaplay.com. Again, nirsaplay.com. It's where you're going to find the results from the last year, but also we'll have updates on what the task force is doing. And there's another Google form there that you can also drop comments on too. So drop us an email through your personal email, or just go to the website and click on email us, and you'll be able to do it either way there to send in your feedback. And any question, any suggestion, any comment, criticism, concern, all of that is valuable to us. We want as much information as we can take in from all of our different stakeholders. But that's not the only way either.
Yeah, we're also going to use social media when it comes to that. So, you get on Twitter, just drop us a question, use the hashtag NIRSA Series 2. So that's hashtag NIRSA Series and then the number 2 with your question. We're going to compile all of that information, whether that be through social media, through the email, through the website, or reach out to a committee member that you may feel comfortable with. You may know one of us more than the other. Drop us a line, whether it be an email or a phone call, and talk about some of your suggestions, because we'll utilize all of that. And we hope that you do that before June 1st, because of course we're going to meet in early June in Atlanta. And we have a session dedicated to just answering questions and being able to just hear out different things from our stakeholders.
And it will not end on June 1st, but we'll take that information, have good conversation. After that, please look for some surveys. We will need some help from many of our members to just give your own personal feedback, or perhaps connect with your participants to ask them a particular question. So we want you to know that we need all of our members that have, value here in the series to be involved as we plan out what's next here in Series 2.0.
Yep. So transitioning now to our future podcasts as we close up here this pilot episode, you can look for us at regular times throughout the year. Whenever there is news to be shared, updates to be had, we hope to be able to bring you different editions of Series Talk. We'll bring up different members of the NIRSA Championship Series Committee, different hosts. We may even have some players up here.
Sure.
So we're not exactly sure exactly what form this is going to take, but we hope that this is a lot of fun. We hope this is a way to engage members and provide a new way of communication out about what the Championship Series is doing.
So watch for interviews with other stakeholders, interviews with some of our series members, highlights from our meeting in June. I think all of that will be coming up in our next podcast, and you'll find more about that on the NIRSA website through the NIRSA Know, potentially, and nirsaplay.com. We'll have kind of our hub, if you will, of task force information. So great places to go to continue to learn and interact with what we're doing. But I think that's about it for today, right?
That is about it. Anytime that we can get you here in Gainesville, Florida, Dave, maybe not with that color, but
trying to bring something to the table here. Yeah.
Anytime we can get you here, the better. So keep sending information to us.
Absolutely. So let us know what you think, and we will be bringing information to you and answers to your questions. We look forward to doing that. So for now, Marty, I'm Dave at Go Noles. Is that right?
Yes. I don't know about that.
We'll talk to you next time on Series Talk from the NIRSA Championship Series. What?
Right over left, Dave.